Welcome to Behind the ABA Talk podcast, where we have heart-to-heart conversations with ABA experts, thought leaders, and change makers. Each episode unpacks the stories, insights, and behind-the-scenes realities that shaped our experts' professional journeys. I'm your host, Lisa Gurdon, founder of Ellis Gurdon Consulting. So she's one of the most recognized names in behavior analysis, and today she's pulling back the curtain. The extraordinary Dr. Gina Green opens up about her career journey, shares advice for young behavior analysts, and offers her perspectives on evidence-based practice versus pseudoscience. Learn what Dr. Green loves to read and whether she is an early bird or a night owl. This is an unbeatable episode that will inspire you and make you smile. Special thank you to our episode sponsor, Georgia-based Fiesta Health. Fiesta helps families with autism find their path forward with a collaborative approach from diagnosis to treatment that truly meets every child's needs. Learn more at fiestahealth.com. And I'm super excited to be back together with my favorite co-host, Behavior Life co-founder, and WIBA Women in Behavior Analysis Executive Director, Dr. Janet Lund, for this very special podcast with ABA legend and WIBA 2026 Hall of Fame inductee, Dr. Gina Green. Janet, so fun to be back with you. It has been a little while since we recorded our podcast series for the Women Behaving Boldly conference back in December. How have you been?
Missing you, first of all. I loved all of our times together. I've been great. I have been so busy planning our conference, which Gina knows a lot about because she's planned some conferences in her past too. But I've just been hard at work and so excited going from Women Behaving Boldly now into our in-person annual conference. We're in Chicago this year. So I'm just so excited and could not be more excited that we are getting to induct Dr. Gina Green to the Hall of Fame for women who have shaped and changed behavior analysis. And Gina's going to be in person with us. So I'm so excited. Number one for me, because I love anytime I can be near Gina, but it's just so important because really the mission of WIBA is about uplifting and mentoring women and calling out just the way women have shaped our science and our field. And so Gina is one of those people for a lot of us. And I know, Lisa, for you, she has shaped me and the way I practice behavior analysis and what I know of good scientific evidence-based treatment for the people who use and know ABA. And our theme this year at WIBA is rooted in science and growing in community. And I think Gina's such a beautiful example of that because she has throughout, and we'll talk a lot more about it, but throughout her career has been so rooted in our science, but has always, I felt, had a mission to gather people around her and develop a community and to help, so many of us fall in love with the science of behavior analysis. So it's just such an honor to be able to have her there in person to receive this well-earned award.
Amazing. And I get to be there this year, so I'm very excited. We'll get to
and you're presenting.
And I'm presenting. Yes. And I'm really excited to talk about collaboration at the conference and just to meet up with all of the incredible women who are doing such amazing things in the field and really pushing our field forward in such incredible ways. I'm wondering, Janet, if you can tell us a little bit about how you select your inductees.
Yeah. So the WIBA Hall of Fame started, our first inductee class was in 2021. So this year is our 6th year of inducting women into this Hall of Fame. And, the WIBA Hall of Fame, the people who get in that, really, it's about trying to honor the extraordinary women who their leadership, their scholarship, their service, all of those things have shaped behavior analysis and have just advanced our science and advanced opportunities for other women within it. And Gina's such a great example of that, as are the other women who are being inducted into the class this year. But it's about their mentorship, their advocacy, their research, the way they practice ethically. And so the way we select the nominees it is an all-female committee that selects the women. So even though we have men on our advisory board, only women sit on the WIBA Hall of Fame committee. And we research throughout the year women who we believe sort of hit some of the criteria that we are looking for in sort of the Hall of Fame. So over 30 years of experience in the field, they have to be either fully retired or semi-retired. And so Gina works forever. So, we had to keep waiting for Gina to semi-retire. They have to have accolades and awards, scholarly contributions in our literature, teaching and mentorship. And so all of that is part of the process. So this committee of women are actively researching, and we keep a running group of those names. And so we have names that we're sort of still learning about and reading their research and making sure that we are actively trying to find the women that we truly believe have shaped. And, luckily a lot of us know Gina. I mean, we've been shaped by Gina, but some of the women you'll learn are women you maybe never even knew. And so it's one of the coolest things about the induction ceremony is it's almost like a history class in behavior analysis, because you get to learn about their research, how they were shaped, who they are. And so it's just the most uplifting, lovely part. And it's one of my favorite things I get to do at WIBA is learn about these amazing women, fall in love with them as scholars and scientists, but also learning a little bit about who they are. And that's what I'm so excited about this podcast too, Lisa, because I think we're going to get to do that with Gina today. So
yes, amazing. And without further ado, huge welcome and thank you to Dr. Gina Green. Hi, Gina.
Hi, Lisa, Janet. Oh my gosh. I mean, I was already blown away by this award, and even more so now it's surreal listening to Janet's comments. So, I'm so honored, so humbled, and love this opportunity to talk with you guys. Can't wait for the conference.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Well, Gina, it's so well deserved. You have wowed the socks of so many of us right off. So it's something we're thrilled. Everyone's just so thrilled about it on the committee and around WIBA and Lisa. We're all just tickled pink, as we say in the South.
Yes. Well, it was, as I was telling you before we got on, it was very hard to write an introduction that does your career justice, but I'm going to tell you what I have, and you can let me know. But I am honored, and as I said, I started my career in the late '90s, and working one-on-one with young autistic children in their homes. And your book that Janet and I both have, and for those of you who are listening, we're holding our books up. This was our Bible, Behavioral Interventions for Young Children with Autism, a manual for parents and professionals. And although this was written, way back when, I still refer to it, and I encourage everybody to go back to the OG. It is full of incredible programs and information that really launched behavior analysis in this field incredibly. And Gina is a role model for behavior analysts and a true trailblazer. Dr. Green has taught and inspired countless graduate students, authored numerous books and articles, advised many ABA schools, programs, and organizations, including the Association for Professional Behavior Analysts and the Behavior Analyst Certification Board, and was named by Psychology Today as Mental Health Professional of the Year, and this was back in 2000. My goodness, Gina. And Gina continues to consult, teach, advise, and inspire professionals, leaders, and students in the field. What an incredible career. I know you're not done, you're still going. And what has kept you going all these years?
Oh gosh. You mentioned, I think Janet used the word falling in love with. I think I fell in love with behavior analysis. Talk about how that came about a long time ago. And as I've gone through, my training and then into my professional career and beyond, as I'm failing retirement at the moment, they're just the way I look at it is that I've just been so lucky to have had opportunities, doors kind of open up to tell others about this wonderful science, to hopefully increase the likelihood of more people benefiting from delivery of, high quality analysis services, getting more people involved in doing good research and understanding what constitutes good scientific evidence versus the opposite. So there just have been, again, so many opportunities that have kind of landed in my lap. And I honestly, I have a really hard time saying no, even today. So something will come up and say, well, this needs to be done, or can you do this, or would you consider, taking on this role? And I just tended to say yes, because again, it looked like a chance to give back to the field, which is something that was really instilled in me by my doctoral faculty.
Absolutely. I think, for me, I don't know, Janet, for you too, it is that giving back. It's that creation of that community, and it's those relationships with colleagues that, and the families that we work with, and the kids and the individuals that we support, that I think fuel so many of us to keep going and keep saying yes, right? Even when we're exhausted and we know we should be done, but we keep going, it just keeps fueling us.
Yeah,
but
sorry, go
no,
ahead.
No, you, Gina, you.
Oh, I was just going to say I think one of the reasons I fell in love with this field, the logic, the precision of our research methods, that systematic aspect, that, clear, direct, empirical evidence about what's going on, that just appealed to me from very early on. And then, getting experience, as I was, again, so fortunate to do in my, mostly starting in my doctoral program, in working with children diagnosed with autism and other developmental disabilities and their families, and seeing improvements in behavior. I mean, you guys know how this is. You work with someone, especially individuals with those kinds of diagnoses, and you're working so hard and they're working so hard on just, every little thing. And somehow, early on, seeing a youngster say something for the first time, do something they and you again have been working on for so many, through so many learning opportunities, to do that, to be successful. I mean, that was just so reinforcing to me, and it still is, even seeing that or learning about that from a distance. So that's probably the number one thing that has, as you say, kept me going.
Yeah. Amazing.
Well, and Gina, you're such a good example. Like, we were laughing about how we both had this book, and we were talking beforehand, and Lisa said, "Oh, I have my book." I was like, "Oh, I have that book." I actually had to buy that book twice because the first one fell apart, and it was before there were electronic copies of anything. And so I had to buy another one. And as we were talking, I still have, for those people who are listening, I still have one of those like post-it flags in it. And I pulled it out and I said, "Lisa, do you want to know what's flagged in this?" That was on my bookshelf. And I don't know if so it's the section about, Gina, where you talk about what the research tells us about effective treatment. And, the copyright from this book was 1996. So you're talking about it in 1996. I'm out there practicing behavior analysis in Florida and then into Georgia. And I looked at this, and Gina, there are sections of this that the highlighting is now so faded because it's been a couple of decades. But it was just something that I was so impressed with, how you could take our science and what we all know is a complicated science and has lots of details, and make it digestible for people to understand, for parents,
Yes.
for teachers. Like you have this uncanny ability to be so brilliant and so smart that you can take something but then write it in a way that we can disseminate that information. But then one of the things that makes me so in awe of you, Gina, is you have that, but then you have this heart of gold where you won't say no to someone. So when someone calls you that you don't really know and they're like, "Hey, I need help because we're working on policy in my state and I don't know what to do," and you kind of know everything, and I was told to reach out, you're the kind of person, and I can't even imagine the hundreds of people, thousands probably, that you've done that. I know I was the recipient of it, of your generosity and spirit and your wicked intelligence and your knowing how to like cut through things. And you have just been this person who, yes, loves the science, but you're not stingy with it. You're so generous with our science and how you give it away in ways that people can use, and then even you give of yourself so that the science carries on, and so that the benefit is beyond just you and what your 2 hands and 2 feet can do. You've sort of created this group of people who have had the privilege of you helping them know what to do and carry it forward. And I think that's a skill set many of us don't have, and you have in abundance.
Well, again, Janet, thank you so much. That's an incredible tribute. I owe a lot to the people who have helped me really throughout my life develop, you know, writing skills, and again, the research skills, and starting with my mom and others that you give back, you help people, when you have the opportunity and you have the something you can do to give back to your community, whatever that community, however it's defined, in the moment. To that book, and in the on the theme of giving credit, I want to make sure that credit's given to Catherine Maurice, who,
Oh,
her parent of 2 children who were diagnosed with autism when they were young and benefited greatly from applied behavior analysis. It was her book, Let Me Hear Your Voice, that really put
Me too.
me
ABA
three.
for people with autism on the map for large segments of the public, for parents in particular. I remember reading the Lobos 1987 study in the journal in which that was published. And because I had in the early 1980s, my doctoral program at Utah State University, I worked in what was a day school, day treatment program, basically for children with various special needs diagnoses. And it was an ABA program. I mean, before Lobos, we were doing pretty much intensive ABA during the hours we had the kids in school. And so when I read the Lobos study, I thought, well, yeah, if we started working with children when they were 3, 4 years old, and we could provide that many hours of good, direct intervention, yeah, I believed, that those outcomes that he reported were entirely feasible.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we needed replications, and there's been plenty. But parents don't read journals, and
Mm-mm.
not that many professionals, I think, were even reading. I mean, there was, of course, that study provoked some debate and controversy and conversation among professionals, but it was really Catherine Reese, and but
Mm-hmm.
her learning about the WIBA study through an article that the great Paul Chance had written in Psychology
Yes.
Today, and that led her and her husband, who they'd tried various other sorts of interventions that didn't work, to come upon applied behavior analysis. And then write this book, which, if you didn't know anything about autism or anything about ABA, was such a compelling story. It's just a kind
Oh.
of, you can't put it down. You have to know what happens. And she's a great writer. So
Mm-hmm.
once her book, Let Me Hear Your Voice, was out there, of course, parents were asking her. She was seeing, this great need and interest develop among parents. It was her idea to put out some kind of a manual
Mm-hmm.
that parents and others out there could use. And this is one of those great opportunities. She reached out to me and said, "Would you be interested in working on this?" And of course, I said yes. And to great colleague, Steve Luce. And Steve said yes. And so we worked together, the three of us, to identify and recruit people to write the various chapters in that book. Parents, behavior analysts, a speech pathologist who had worked with Catherine Reese's children. And, I had been writing, mostly technical research articles
Mm-hmm.
prior to that. And here we were trying to write a book, as you alluded to, that would speak to understandable by a wide range of
Mm-hmm.
lay audience. And it was hard. And again, I have to credit Catherine Maurice, just, really insisted that Steve and I and the others, make sure that it would be digestible. I'm still working on that. I mean, all these
Yeah.
years, experiences later, I still have to, whenever I write something, think about the audience and how
Mm-hmm.
make information understandable to them.
Gina, I love the image of Catherine Maurice red pinning your work and being like,
Yeah.
rephrase that. Like I just had this mental image in my head about John Bailey red pinning my work in graduate school, and now I have Catherine Maurice red pinning Gina Green's work. I love it.
Well, I was teaching undergraduate courses in psychology at Northeastern way back when, very early in my career, and I assigned that book, and I remember talking about it and being so overwhelmed by the power of our science. I'm wondering, as you think about, you mentioned Catherine Maurice and Steve Luce and some other people, is there something that one of those individuals or someone else said to you that has stuck with you throughout your career, that is just that voice in your head reminding you about something?
I that was in the list of potential questions that you guys sent me, and really, I kind of puzzled over it. I thought about it a lot, and it was really hard to pinpoint any one statement or thing. I just feel so fortunate that going back to my education in the public schools in the small village in Southeast Michigan where I grew up,
Mm-hmm.
all the way through bachelor's and master's at Michigan State and in my doctoral program at Utah State, I had so many great mentors and support.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, honestly, a lot of men, I always found people, and again, back to high school teachers, and certainly through my doctoral program and in my professional career, men who were wonderfully supportive, women too, of course, but there were,
Mm-hmm.
it happened that in the doctoral program at Utah State, in analysis of behavior, all of the faculty, the main faculty, were men. And they could not have been more encouraging and supportive of me, and I feel of my female classmates. And as when we were students, and way beyond that, and I'd have to say the same for many people, in our field. But certainly one of the people who had huge influence on me was the incredible Murray Sidman. And when I was a doctoral student, my wonderful late major professor, Grayson Osborne, got me interested in the experimental analysis of behavior generally, and then in stimulus control in particular. And we had a small, it was called a symposium or seminar or something, just a few of us with Grayson who got very interested in the very early work on stimulus equivalence. So we're reading these articles by Murray Sidman. I said, oh my God, this is just so elegant in the methodology, the logic, the implications, for basic behavioral processes as well as applications. So I was just fascinated and decided that's what I'm going to do my dissertation on in the area of stimulus equivalence. It was brand new at the time. I'm dating myself here. But, and of course, Murray's book, Tactics of Scientific Research, huge influence on me. So Murray had published, of course, several articles on stimulus equivalence. And this was in the day when you couldn't just go online and find PDFs.
No.
I remember that, Janet.
Yeah,
How about you?
I don't know what you're talking about, Lisa.
Go to the library, pull the journals, photocopy it. Anyway, there on Grayson's with Grayson's encouragement, I wrote to Murray Sidman to request a reprint or one or two of his articles, and said I was planning to do my dissertation in stimulus equivalence. And he wrote back promptly, sent me the reprint with a little handwritten note that said, Gina, something like, thank you for your request. Good luck with your dissertation. I look forward to meeting you. I was a mere doctoral student, right? And I kept that note. I framed it. I had it on my desk. I have it here still.
Stop. That's amazing.
And little did I know at the time that that would really be the beginning of what turned out to be a wonderful professional and personal relationship with Murray and his wonderful wife, Rita. Again, I just felt so lucky to be able to have really years of kind of being mentored by Murray, learning his needs, his writing. Talk about ability to take complicated technical concepts and write about them in ways that were very clear, speak about them clearly. I mean, that was, again, just enormous influence.
That's amazing. That's
I mean, talk about a giant. He was a giant. He's giant. I mean, there's so many people who he has impacted.
Yeah.
That you're right. His work has sort of shifted a whole group of people as their worldview, which is amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's really cool to think about something, we do things and we don't know our impact on someone else. And to think about, a note that probably he didn't even think about that he just wrote to you that was so impactful, is a good reminder, to us of the power of something you say to someone, a handwritten note. Yeah, the power of words just to encourage us to keep going. It's really wonderful to share that. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm wondering,
Gina,
go ahead.
I have one quick question. Were you ever able to tell or show Murray that you had it on your desk? Like, did he know?
Yes.
Okay, good.
What happened not too long after that, I went to the ABA convention, and I knew that Murray, well, there was somebody was doing a panel or a symposium or something on stimulus equivalence. I was pretty sure that he would be there. And so I went to that session and I saw him and Rita. Rita always went with Murray to conferences as long as he was able to travel. So I saw him. Of course, I knew him only from pictures at that point. And I kind of waited outside the door as the session, as people were exiting, and they came out, and I walked up to him and introduced myself, which I'm not that prone to do because I tend but he got this big smile and he turned, and we had corresponded a little bit more after that. He turned to Rita and said, "Oh, this is my pen pal, Gina."
Oh my gosh.
Adorable.
Yeah. And we, had lunch or something. And again, that was
Oh
the
my
beginning,
gosh.
really wonderful.
Oh my gosh. I love that.
This is so off the cuff, Gina, but you saying this makes me think like one of the things I love about conferences in general, but certainly what I feel the vibe is at WIBA is it is a very warm and welcoming environment that I think not just those of us who are organizing and putting on and on the advisory board, like we all care and think about that, but I actually believe that people who choose to attend WIBA want to make the whole conference somewhere where we are lifting each other up and you can feel safe being there. And that's one of the things I just love about, I talk and often say from the stage, we are WIBA. WIBA is not one person. It's not an advisory board. We are WIBA. Like, we are the women in behavior analysis. We get to decide what it feels like. And you talking about number one, being, bold enough to say, write him. But number two, the courage that sometimes it takes to say, okay, I'm going to wait outside the door and I'm just going to get every ounce of courage I can. And I'm going to go say hi to that person. I would love to hear you talk for a second because there are people who have just passed their exam that come to WIBA. Often, I'll ask on the opening who this is their very first conference that they've attended or their very first WIBA they've attended. And we'll get all these hands, which I love. And so they are just learning what it feels like to attend a conference and see some of these names. Like they're going to see a Gina Green and be like, I know she's larger than life. Can you just talk about, at the end of the day, we're all human and we're all walking through this life. And the joy that probably Murray felt when he turned to Rita and said, "This is my pen pal." Like that wasn't an imposition on Murray. And I'd love to hear you just talk from the perspective of someone who's been in the field to these newer behavior analysts who might feel nervous to go talk to someone who in their eyes is a hero. Can you just talk about that for a second? Like how you take that when someone is brave enough to come up to you?
Oh, I love it. And I mean, I would just say do it, right? Just if there's somebody, just to introduce yourself, somebody you want to talk to, particularly you want to have a conversation with. You have to understand at conferences, people are rushing to sessions and, they may not always have the time at the moment to do that. But again, I just feel really fortunate in that, and my history was my doctoral faculty strongly encouraged us to do that, to go to conferences, participate in our state and national professional associations, which I really want to emphasize for new people. That is so important.
Yes.
And to just go up and talk to people. And so several of our faculty at conferences would make a point of like taking us almost literally by the hand and go, we're going to introduce you to. So we got used to that. We got trained really on walking up to big name people and talk to them. And, of course there were exceptions, but I'd have to say the majority of the time when I've done that, people were very receptive. They're very happy to have you talk to them.
Mhm.
You know, who doesn't like having somebody recognize your work and
Yeah.
you know, somehow think you're important enough that they want to know more about you and your work.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I love it. And Lisa, I think you mentioned a minute ago that, you know, we don't always know how the work we do affects other people. That really resonated with me because over the years, I've come to know a lot of parents and families of people with autism. And going back to that book I co-edited with Catherine Maurice and Steve Luce, you know, we just put that book out there. We weren't really sure what kind of effect it was going to have. And to this day, and people like you, and certainly many families and others who will come up to me at a conference or email me or something and say, you know, that book was really important to us, to my family, or about something else, you know, an article that I published or something. Oh my God, that is so
Mhm.
gratifying because again, you know, you just don't know. So I would just encourage people to be bolder than I often am about
Yeah.
going up and talking to people. And, you know, and if somebody's a little bit curt, you know, don't be put off. There's, again, especially in conferences, because they're typically so,
Mhm.
it's kind of hubbub. And the one thing I have always said to folks who I've met over the years at conferences is, please don't be upset if the next time I see you, I don't remember your name because
Mhm.
you meet so many people and you may not
Yes.
see them again, you know, for months or years. And, you know, when you're the speaker,
Mhm.
you're the one who's, you know, you publish stuff, people, you know who you are. So, like, the hundreds of people who may be in an audience feel like they know you. The speaker doesn't know all of them.
Yes.
Yeah, most people have been very gracious about that when I've said, you know, and now it's to the point I've met so many people over the years that whenever somebody comes up to me at a conference or something, I'd say, you know, I have to apologize. Your face is familiar. We've probably met. I have to be honest, I don't really remember. And most people are really kind about saying, well, that's
Yeah.
okay. And here's when we met, and this is who I am. So,
You
yeah.
know, one thing I often tell people that I mentor is if you've met someone, but you don't, it's been a year, it's been 2 years, you go up and say, "Hi, Dr. Green, Janet Lund. We met at
Mhm.
APBA in 2023. It's so nice to see you again."
Yeah,
Right?
that's
Like you just
Yeah.
take that stress off the person, make yourself known, make yourself warm, just remind the person. Because, like you said, I know who Gina Green is. Gina Green may not know who Janet Lund is, right? So to take that off you to
Yeah.
have the burden of it, that's the gift that we can give as the person going back in.
Yeah, that's a great strategy and good reminder. I try to do that even now, you know, reintroduce myself to someone who may not remember.
Mhm.
Yes, I think it always helps me to have, a wing person to come with
Mhm.
me, so that, some to introduce me, or I always like to bring younger behavior analysts, or people who are new, whatever, to, oh, come meet this person, and helping to facilitate those
Mhm.
connections. As we all do that, we are building stronger and stronger connections and in the
Mhm.
community as you've done in WIBA. And that's again back to those relationships are so crucial. Gina, I'm wondering, you talk about meeting people and going up to them. Is there other advice you would give to a young woman in behavior analysis today, who wants to do the work, who's practicing and, wants to do work wants to scale up, right? To do more and more, have a greater and greater impact, not just in your caseload, but in our profession. I'm definitely one of those people who would love to hear your advice of just, how to have an impact in the most amazing, positive, incredible way for people. What's your key? right? What's your advice?
I'd say again, recognize opportunities when they arise, evaluate them carefully, because I mean, we all know about short-term reinforcement effects, right? So there may be opportunities that come up that sound like and may offer some pretty potent, reinforcers. Um, and none of us has a crystal ball, but try to think about, if I pursued this, what effect might that have? Am I really giving back? Is this going to benefit me, but may not benefit many other people, at least not in a particular way? And I would really advise, whether you're in practice or looking at or pursuing careers in other areas of the discipline, to participate in research. You can design and conduct studies yourself, or just help out, get yourself to the point that you can maybe be a co-investigator, co-author. Again, coming back to my strong belief in the importance of the scientific foundations, the research is going to be there. If you do good research, you publish it in good peer-reviewed journals and so on, it's going to have a life of its own. And, on your life or your time, working in the field, those articles and books and so on exist. One of the things I would really strongly encourage new people to do is learn about the history. I really see so many people new folks coming in the field who don't know about the history, don't know about people like Murray Sidman and, other outstanding pioneers. I was always trained to know the shoulders you stand on, and again, give credit where credit's due.
Amen, Gina. Amen.
Which is one of the things I really love about WIBA. I think you are doing that too. That's a great service to the field. But again, I think that, again, my strong bias here, but I think that doing good research is, in the long run, going to have the biggest impact. Yes, you could expand your practice, you could increase the number of clients that you're serving. That's all great. And for some people, that's, where your reinforcers lie. Certainly do that. But I think research is certainly, again, one major way to have big influence. Again, reflecting bias in my own experience, I would also say, get involved in working on public policies, laws and regulations that affect our discipline. Because, again, a study or clinical work you do is going to have some impact. But when you think about it, if you can help get a law adopted that recognizes our profession, so this is who behavior analysts are, this is the training they have, this is what they do. If we can get laws that enable our services to be funded, think about the numbers of people that's going to affect. Not just practitioners, it's going to be the academics who are training practitioners and future researchers. It's going to be all the people that those practitioners serve, now and over many, many years. So things like laws and regulations have, again, tremendous and lasting impact.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. That's my brain is going very fast thinking about all kinds of things, Gina, all kinds of things.
Lisa, you now have more on your to-do list.
Yes.
You're already very busy to-do list, right?
Actually, research has been on my to-do list. And yeah, I'm a practitioner. So for me, and maybe those of you who are listening may feel like, like I don't know how to do research. I've read a ton of it, but to do it myself, I don't have that experience. So for me, I would love to find a partner, who
Mhm.
does know that, where we can combine our passion, our interests, and really work together to gather evidence and to ask a question and find the answer, figure out what we can find. Um, I need that partner for me. And maybe those of you out there who think the same way, because I don't have that skill set. I've been practicing for decades, but not doing
Sure.
research.
And yeah, those are really good observations, Lisa. I understand them completely. And I think that's, again, one of the things I've enjoyed in my career is the opportunity to help people who are
Yeah.
mainly clinicians and practitioners get involved in research. And, one point I would add to that is that I think a lot of people assume that a lot of questions have been answered that really haven't.
Yes.
And I think we
Mm.
talked about earlier, there are many
Yes.
Mhm.
questions that are being raised in the
Yeah.
practice arena in everyday delivery of services that really need to be studied in,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
with good scientific methods. And so I run into this all the time. People go, "Oh, well, that question must have already been. Surely somebody has researched that." It's surprising how many intervention
Yes.
procedures that people are using every day that I mean, maybe there's one study, maybe there are none, maybe there are two or three, but they're not that good. I
Yes.
mean, we need replications, we need,
Yeah.
original studies, again, evaluating some of these newer questions.
Absolutely.
And everybody, um, you can find, I'm sure you can find partners, mentors, Lisa, and other practitioners who'll
Yeah.
be happy to have somebody to help out with their studies.
Yeah.
It's a good way to get.
Sounds Gina, sounds to me like Lisa needs a Murray Sidman pen pal kind of person. What about you?
I'm willing, happy to do it.
You're the best. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I will be at WIBA, so maybe you and I can sit down, Gina,
Sure.
and have a cup of coffee, and talk some more about research ideas and how to go about it. And I think that's where it starts is
Let's do it.
But here,
conversations, right?
I love research. I really, of all the things in our field, I think I most love our
Yeah.
um,
mhm,
research methods, measurement and research
Yeah.
design, that logic again that I fell in
Yeah.
love with a long time ago. And I love talking about it. It's one of the things I've missed in, the direction the latter part of my career took me. I wasn't able to do research. I had to still read.
mhm.
So I am reading and digesting and analyzing a lot of research and writing and talking about it, but not actually doing
Mm-hmm.
research. And I miss that.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. I may get an eye roll from the listeners, but this makes me think about our theme this year, rooted in science and growing in community. And I can't help but think, like, this is such a good example of that because
Yes.
there are those of us who are practitioners that are out doing the work. And then there are researchers that are in academic positions that maybe don't have access to the clients or the location or the ability. And this is where those types of friendships and collaborations, like there are researchers that are presenting at WIBA that are in universities that I promise would love to have a practitioner come up and say, I've got a question. I know you've got grad students. I've got a clinic. I would love to collaborate. And that's the beauty of using the roots of our science, but the branches of our community to be
Yes.
able to collaborate together. And so, and
Yes.
part of it is being bold enough to ask questions and ask friends, hey, do you know of anybody who's
Yes.
looking to have a research buddy? And I promise you, there are so many academics that are like, gosh, I just need a location to do this research because I
Yeah.
don't have that. And that's where we get stronger together when we
Yes.
do that and we partner in that way. So I roll me,
Absolutely.
but I just think it's so worth saying that.
I think you're right on point, Janet. That's exactly right.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so looking forward to all the conversations we are all going to have at WIBA, and we're about to do rapid fire questions, Gina.
Oh,
But before we do you have a book that, whether it's behavior analysis or otherwise, besides Catherine Maurice's incredible novel, incredible book, um, that has genuinely changed the way you think or inspired you, or that you just loved and couldn't put down?
I mentioned already Marie Sidman's Tactics of Scientific Research. That's
Mhm.
top of the list in our field. Uh, there's so many. I have been an avid reader since I was about 3 years old, so I read a
Amazing.
lot. And I read, fiction, mostly fiction now for enjoyment, and some nonfiction, but again, a lot in the field. But something sort of, I'd say, field adjacent, a book that I've loved is Carl Sagan's book, Science is a Candle in the Dark.
Oh,
Sagan, is a great
oh,
astrophysicist. And, one of the first people from that I know of anyway, or I became aware of from that sort of a hard sciences, who really made an effort to communicate that science,
mhm.
basics of science, all kinds of sciences, to the general public. He had this television programs and interviews, but that book, which I think I first came upon it we were in the kind of the early days of raising questions about the facilitated communication phase, and I was one of the early people calling for careful evaluations. And through that work, it was really fun. I got to know people working in various areas and under the general category of skepticism in science. Looking at non-scientific, pseudoscientific phenomena in a lot of different arenas that were just like what I saw happening with facilitated communication and other interventions in autism. And so I was reading, in these other areas, and I came upon this Carl Sagan book, and I think everybody should read it. Another thing I worry about is that our new practitioners to be in applied behavior analysis may not be getting training on just basic critical thinking, scientific reasoning, scientific method. I'm sure they all have I hope they all have a class on, single case research designs, but there are underlying foundational skills, again, that are generally talked about as critical thinking. That Sagan book, he just lays things out clear, short, direct sentences, lots of everyday examples. And he makes it clear how harmful pseudoscience and non-science is in all realms of our existence. So that book was one that stood out to me as an influence.
Amazing.
I've added it to my reading list. I wrote it down. It's going on my reading list.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, Gina.
Okay, rapid fire.
Janet's taking over here. She's going to do our rapid fire round. So the whole idea is it's quick answers, first instinct, no overthinking allowed, and we're just going to have fun here. So Janet, take it away.
Okay, everybody. So we're going to get to know some of Gina's more, I don't want to say frivolous, but a side of Gina you might not know, right? So first question, Gina, coffee or tea? What's your go-to?
Definitely coffee.
Coffee. How do you take it? Is it black? Is it with sugar?
No, I got to have cream and sugar.
Okay, it sounds delicious. Okay, I'm down for that. All right, next question. Would you categorize yourself as an early bird or a night owl?
Definitely night owl.
Okay, so staying up late at night, Are you productive, or are you just reading your fiction books at night?
I got in the habit way back in high school. Growing up in a working class family, I had to work, after school, starting at a fairly early age. And so I would put in a full day of school, go to work, come home, 9 o'clock, had to do my homework for the next day. And that carried through, of course, in
Yeah.
college, and, graduate school, just putting in those long hours. And then, working in jobs that,
Yeah.
took 50, 60, 70 hours a week. Just had to be. I wouldn't say now I still am doing some work in the evenings. I've just never been a good early morning person.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Okay, next one. Mountains or beach? Where is your go-to spot if you got to go?
That is a tough one. I would say mountains. I've always loved the mountains. I was an avid skier in a past life. Of course, now I live in San Diego where we have these great beaches.
Beautiful.
Fabulous.
Beautiful. Okay, so then related to that, after a long, hard 80-hour week, which we know you do, what is your kind of go-to way to engage in self-care or decompress at the end of what you would say is, oh man, I need a little me time? What does that look like for you?
I would say probably first choice would be going for a walk in this wonderful park. I live next door to a very large regional park.
Mm,
I'm in kind of foothills, and in this park,
beautiful.
the San Diego River has carved a gorge through these foothills, and so there are rock formations, and there's the river, and there's wonderful walking trails. And so I don't do it as often as I should, but I love walking there while listening to some of my favorite performers, like Emmylou Harris,
Oh, yes.
Bruce Springsteen.
Woohoo!
Love Bruce. Um,
My husband loves Bruce Springsteen.
Me too. I was fortunate enough to go to one of his performances in April. It was fantastic. And in a band called the Old Crow Medicine Show, which is kind of they do
Yes.
Americana.
Yes. Yes. Okay, sounds
Fantastic.
good. I'm down for coffee and going walking with Gina late at
Yes.
night, I guess. Okay, Gina, I know you've given talks all over the world and in all kinds of locations, but I'm curious, is there one that stands out to you as just the most unusual or something about it that we might not know that you've given a talk?
Oh gosh, I'd just say probably the most unusual location was a hogan, which is a traditional building home on the Navajo reservation.
Wow.
Oh my
As a
goodness.
as a doctoral student, again, one of the fortunate opportunities I had, Utah State University had a Center for People with Disabilities. They had a contract with the Navajo reservation because there were no school psychologists, no Navajo school psychologists at that time to evaluate children to see if they were eligible for special education services. And so Utah State contracted and would send little armies of doctoral students down to the reservation, and we would go around to the schools and do standardized assessments and interviews and so on with these kiddos, and we did presentations to teachers and others there, and I did one, and again the hogan is be the traditional Navajo home. This was a hogan type structure, but it was I don't remember now, it was school district or some administrative thing, but it was an unusual structure.
Yes.
The thing I remember, this is really date me. I was trying to do a presentation using the old transparencies with the overhead
Yes.
projector.
Yep.
The overhead projector bulb blew.
Oh,
Not once, but twice.
Oh
no.
Which had
no.
something to do with electricity not working that well, and then my whole presentation.
Oh,
Oh
you-
no.
you're
What do I
trying to
do?
hold up the hold up the transparency to the light and say, "Can you guys see this?" All right, that's a good one. Okay, what about your favorite meal or the meal you always just want to keep coming back to?
So my absolute favorite food, other than dark chocolate, is Maine lobster.
Okay,
Oh.
fancy.
Yeah, I developed a
Okay.
love for from first visit to Boston many years ago, and then I lived in the Boston area for 12 years. Unfortunately, it's hard to get, so it's not a meal that I get to come back to, as you put it, as often as I would like. But oh man, there's nothing better than that Maine lobster with drawn butter.
Exactly. Now we're making you hungry. Okay. Uh, Now we've gotten our book recommendation from you, but now the question is, what show are you currently watching or have you finished that you're like, oh, I love this show. This is a good or show or movie that you're like, oh, this is a good one.
Um, well, this is one I rewatched actually recently, which is
Okay.
Ted Lasso.
Oh, so
Oh,
good.
so
Classic.
good.
Like
So
really
good.
Yes.
beginning to love Ted Lasso. I came upon it kind of belatedly, and I think one of my nieces told me about it, or somebody initially, and I got to really like it. And I
Me
just
too.
recently I was kind of casting about for something. I wasn't finding anything that grabbed me that much on streaming at the time. And I'm going to rewatch. And I went all the way back to the beginning.
Oh, does not disappoint, right?
I
So
can't
good.
wait. The new season is going to start soon.
Yes,
See, and you'll be
yes.
fresh and ready to rumble. It'll be
There you
perfect.
go. There you
Oh,
go.
okay, Gina, texting or calling?
I don't like either one.
We know you like writing letters, so we already knew the answer to
Yes,
that, didn't we, Lisa?
yes. Oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, I guess if I had to choose, I'd probably rather, have a real time
Yes.
verbal conversation than text. Text is so limiting, just short
Yeah,
messages. You don't get
yeah,
any the
Absolutely.
true,
nuances. Um,
true. Okay, last few. If you weren't a behavior analyst, what would you be? I can't imagine it.
I also a difficult one. So again, casting back, one of the things again I felt really fortunate to have happened to me in my little village of Clinton, Michigan, where I grew up in the late 1960s. Believe it or not, we had a high school class in psychology.
Ah,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
what got me interested in behavior to begin with. And from that class, my very first thing I wanted to be was a dolphin trainer.
Ah,
Interested in marine
that makes
behavior.
sense. I
Amazing.
could see that
Amazing.
though. Yes.
And
Amazing.
Yes.
then it was I again fortunate to have had good and strict teachers that taught me how to write and spell and punctuate. um, I wrote up sports. I was and still am a sports fan, and I wrote up articles. I wrote articles about my high school sports teams for two local newspapers. So for a while, I thought,
Ah,
oh, sports journalists. Well, I mean, no women were sports journalists at that time. And then there was a time finishing up my undergraduate degree and starting my master's at Michigan State, where just to make a living, and based on prior part-time job, I worked as a legal secretary and legal assistant for a law firm, and toyed with the idea of going to law school, but didn't.
I could see you being a very good lawyer, sports
mm-hmm.
writer, or dolphin trainer.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
I think you could have nailed all of those, Gina. Okay. So I hate this question. I don't know why I'm asking you it, but I'm asking you it. What is your superpower? Because that's so hard to answer when someone asks you that. But let me rephrase it. What is one thing that you know people come to you for? So if you can't just think, oh, here's my superpower, what do you think people are constantly coming to Gina, whether it's professional or personal, you know, for? Yeah,
Um, that's a hard one. I mean, I
I
don't
know.
a superpower, but I would have to say professionally. And one thing that's still so gratifying to me is that people will ask me, what is the research evidence? You know, what
Mhm.
act circling back to that chapter in, the
Yep.
intervention manual, um, what is the scientific evidence about ABA interventions, as well as other interventions? And that, when people ask me that, one of the reasons I love it is because, again, I just love research, reading research, thinking about research, analyzing studies. And I think that it's so important for people to understand
Mhm.
that. So anybody who asks me that question, what do we know? What is the best evidence? If I know the
Yeah.
answer, I'm going to try to give it to them, or I'm going to go
Yeah.
find out, because again, it's just foundational, fundamental to
Yeah.
everything I think we should be doing.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, and that is a superpower. You're right. I 100% agree. Okay, so the last question is kind of serious. But if you could give younger Gina Green, your grad school Gina Green self, um, a piece of advice that you are like, man, this, I really wish you'd listen to it, but what advice would you like to give her? And do you actually think she would have listened to it? Mhm.
Probably would have been stay in positions where you can do research throughout your
Mhm.
career. And I was kind of, I would say, groomed for an academic/research position in my doctoral program, which I appreciated. And my first position was of that ilk. Um, it's not that I regret the other directions my career's taken me. Again, I just said, oh, here's an opportunity. If something needs to be done, I think I can contribute. And I went with it. But I do miss research. And again, I think that's one of the best ways folks can contribute to the development and evolution of the still young field, is by doing good research. Would I have listened to that advice? I mean, I didn't. I did initially, because I had first academic position, then I went to a research position, left an academic position at Southern Illinois University to go to do research at the Eunice Kennedy Shriver Center, and that's Murray Sidman, who started the stimulus control research program
Mhm.
there. I knew it was going to be an opportunity to, to continue working and learning from him. But so I have to say, I kind of took that advice. I followed that advice, which I'd received from a number of my faculty mentors in the doctoral program, but obviously at some point I didn't. This goes back, again, my suggestion about getting involved in research in one way
Yeah.
or the other. Again, whether that's your main role, if your main role is a practitioner, I'd still urge people to participate in research as best they can, or at least learn to, read and digest it. But that's what that would have been the advice I would have given to the younger me. Try to stay involved in research. Sure.
Well, thank you for doing that rapid fire round, Janet and Gina. Oh my gosh, just thank you for um, blessing us today with all of your advice and your experiences. So incredibly valuable, and I hope our listeners truly appreciate all that you have talked about, all you have to offer, and have the opportunity to talk with you and meet with you at a conference or otherwise. So thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you,
Mhm.
guys. It was really fun. It was wonderful. Again, I I can't say enough about how grateful I am to WIBA for this honor and to you guys for this opportunity. And it's always fun to talk, behavior analysis with people
Yes.
who are interested and passionate about the field as I am.
Well, the
Absolutely.
joy is ours, Gina and Lisa and I, and all of the WIBA committee, Hall of Fame committee, the advisory board. We're just so honored to present this to you, so well earned, and really are excited to see you in person in Chicago, to have you there. So thank you for traveling to be with us in a few short weeks too.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Again, thanks for the opportunity. Can't wait to see
A
you guys.
joy.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So looking forward to that. And, this has been a once in a lifetime episode of Behind the ABA Talk podcast with co host Dr. Janet Lund and 2026 WIBA Hall of Fame inductee, researcher, and amazing behavior analyst, Dr. Gina Green. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and inspiring us to continue to live with a passion and a purpose. Stay tuned for our next episode of Behind the ABA Talk and listen to past episodes for more inspiration from behavior analysts who are making a difference. Be sure to explore our special series with Janet Lund and WIBA's Women Behaving Boldly presenters. Thank you again to our episode sponsor, Fiesta Health, and to my podcast producer, Cole Asher Hoffman. Until next time.